So, Keir Starmer, pretending to be a nationalist and covering up all of his globalist personality and core values, you know, it was not on my 2025 bingo card. But here we are, welcome back to politics in the UK, the absolute chaos that is, and welcome back to Playing in Politics. Hello, if you've never seen my face before, hello, welcome to my chaotic politics and makeup podcast, where we talk about politics and I do my makeup at the same time. It's like Elixir, but without the murder, and today we're going to be talking all things tariffs, Donald Trump, Keir Starmer, Kemi Badenoch's terrible response to this whole thing, and also fake asylum seekers going home to the countries that they have claimed to flee from because they want a holiday or they want to see the family. We've got a lot to discuss today. If you're new to the format of this channel, as I say, I waffle on, I do my makeup, and we have a jolly old, chill, good time, a good discussion. And as always, if you're curious about the makeup side of things, for one, I always list everything that I've used in the description, and I always encourage you guys to continue this conversation in the comments, continue the debate, any thoughts that you might have. So yeah, let's get into it. I first of all want to apologise for the lack of episode last week, as I had a cold. It's currently Tuesday, and yeah, this time last week I was a corpse. I was an absolute... I was just not doing well. I don't know if any of you guys have had this cold going around, but I was like low-key nauseous. I was just like really low energy. I basically came back from work and went straight to sleep. It was not... I was not thriving. But we're back now. I've pretty much recovered now fully, so we can get back to the normal scheduled programming. But yes, and I've realised that I have not wet my sponge yet, so I'm going to go do that, and we're going to come back and talk about the tariffs that Donald Trump is now set on pretty much all the countries, well, all the countries that trade with America, and Keir Starmer's very strange response to all that, and why it just exposes he's a massive fake yet again. So I'll be right back. Sponge is now damp. Let's carry on with what we're talking about. Okay, so Donald Trump setting tariffs. I did make a short about this at the time when this all came out, because obviously it was all over the news, it was all over the new media, it was all over everything, because obviously it was something that we knew was going to happen, because he was saying that it was something that he wanted to do, and therefore he has gone and done it. So, you know, again, it wasn't a massive surprise, but it has also been very effective. Now, what was funny about the short that I made was because I was saying, you know, basically, oh, this just shows, you know, because Donald Trump's a businessman above everything else, like, that's why he, you know, he isn't a politician, that's why he's, you know, made, like, really good decisions whilst he's been in power when it comes to, like, the more business side of things, especially when it comes to trade, and dealing with other countries, and this is no exception, because this is exactly what this is, you know. And it was weird because even though I was saying that, I was saying, you know, this is a good decision on the business side of America, I got so many hate comments. Oh my god, it was crazy. I was expecting everyone who was coming across that video, you know, to be like-minded and, you know, to be with me on like, yeah, this is a great idea for America, they're gonna get much better deals when it comes to trade, and they're gonna, you know, try and center some of the manufacturing and quite a lot of it back to America, because that's, you know, what we need, and this is something that we've lost in the UK as well, as like the manufacturing kind of industries that we used to have, and that's why, you know, we import and we rely on China quite a lot, and we'll get to this, but you know, so I was saying that in the reel, I was like, you know, this is great, and there were so many people going, this is a terrible decision for America, what are you on about? Basically calling me stupid. I was like, guys, chill. Look at the facts, look at what's happening. This is not isolationist at all. This is just about getting a better deal for America, and that's what this has always been about, because as Trump has said when he was, you know, announcing this, and I said this in the, you know, I used this quote in the reel that I made, but, you know, especially when it comes to the EU, like, they've been being ripped off in a way, and this is weird because people seem to think that they've had, like, free trade with other countries for ages, which has just not been the case. I mean, to be fair, I didn't really know, I guess I just don't really know that much about trading, but, you know, I didn't know that these tariffs were really a thing, or like really just like as high as they are in some cases, like, you know, So in order to get a better deal for America, obviously the logical thing to do is to go, okay, you're gonna hit us with this, we're gonna hit you straight back with this, you know? It makes sense. It's like basic logic, and everyone's losing their minds. And basically, yeah, it was, again, you know, this is also a logical thing that he's said, that's been like, hey, you know, if you want these to come down, then bring your tariffs down, and, you know, we'll negotiate, and we'll be, you know, because that's just like a healthy trade system. And, you know, I feel like people are having mental breakdowns about that as well, but it's worked. It's already worked with a few countries, and that, you know, one of those countries has been the UK. Now, what was interesting about this, first of all, is if you look at the time it took to respond to all this, because as we've talked about before on the podcast, you know, Keir Starmer clearly is not a massive fan of Trump personally, because they're just completely opposite on the spectrum of politics, like where they sit. So of course he's not going to be buddy-buddy with him, and he's going to be kind of personally keeping him at arm's length, but, you know, there's a certain amount of PR that has to go on with these things, and this is where this whole scandal and whole situation really stems from, is that it is full of PR nonsense. That's all that it is. It's a PR stunt. The whole thing is a PR stunt. Because if he truly believed what he's come out and said, then he would have done this immediately. He would have been very, very solid with all this. He would have come out, you know, I mean, and we wouldn't also have had, you know, years of globalist behaviour from him. You know, we wouldn't be always calling him a globalist, and, you know, like we've said on this channel how friendly he is with the EU. Like, we would not have those allegations if he actually, you know, believed and meant what he has, you know, come out and said. However, we know that is, you know, not the case at all, and partly, you know, the thing that points that out is the fact that it took them days to respond to this. And when I first learned about all this that was happening, it was through my Atishi channel. If you've been here before, you know that I've watched and been friends with him for a while, so, you know, he is still my main news source. And when I was watching his live stream, you know, he made a very good point in that, you know, there's probably been, you know, meetings upon meetings about the wording of the statement, how it was all going to come out, like the response and everything, and how they were going to deal with this, like, you know, it's true, like, the PR departments are running on overtime most of the time, especially when it comes to something like this. Like, of course they're going to be absolutely scrambling to be like, right, how do we do this, guys, because this is not something we actually like to do, and he's kind of forcing us into a corner of a place we don't want to be, but we're going to have to come out and say something. So, you know, for the sake of, you know, the country, and, you know, we're gonna have to try and save face a little bit, and that's exactly what's happened here. Is, yeah, because of course this is where the main controversy comes in, because again, as we've just said, you know, Keir Starmer is a globalist. He's, you know, friends with the EU. You know, he's not he's never been really about the national interest, which is ironic, because that's exactly what he's come out and said, that, you know, as to why they've lowered the tariffs for the US. He's basically tried to come across like, oh yeah, I support Trump 100%. Like, he's my best friend. This is a fantastic decision. Well done, Donny T. This is fantastic. Like, well done, President Trump. This is brilliant. We support you 100% with this, and, you know, you are the best thing to happen since sliced bread for America. La-di-da, dance round your feet and kiss them. So that's basically what he's tried to do. Because, yeah, that's what he said. It's like, this is really good. You know, he's acting for the national interest of America, therefore we're acting over the national interest of the UK. And, you know, yes, he is acting out of the national interest of the US. You know, we know that's why he made this decision. But to have Keir Starmer then come out and basically say that this is the end of globalism, and, like, this is something that the UK and he believes in so strongly as well, which is why he's supporting this so much, is just ironic beyond words. And I think we can all agree just how ridiculous that sounds coming from Keir Starmer. Like, you ain't fooling nobody you knows there, mate. Like, if you know, you know. This is not this is not how he operates. This is not, he doesn't believe what he's saying. And again, this has all just been a massive PR stunt. And again, those who know can see that from a mile off. And yeah, of course he's not actually acting in the interest. Now, here's where the fun of it comes in, because Kemi Badenoch. Now, as you guys know, if you've been here for a while, I am a member of the Conservative Party still, somehow, I know. And I have never really been a Kemi Badenoch fan, like, at all. I didn't vote for her. I didn't want her to be a leader. In fact, I've mentioned on this podcast before that, like, my friend and I around party conference, around the leadership election, were basically saying that if she got in, that we would possibly defect to Reform UK. Now, obviously that's not happened, and, you know, I've talked before about, you know, my distaste and disdain for Reform UK and how that's always been the case, and I've never trusted them, and then obviously with everything that's come out recently, I've been incredibly vindicated, and I still am to this day, continue to be vindicated, because they're still trying to paint the fact that Rupert Lowe's got dementia and some shit. I don't bloody know. Although, I will point out and say, I think I don't know if I made a short about this, I probably did, how brilliant Rupert Lowe has been in terms of launching that grooming gang scandal, the inquiry, like the independent one. Now, obviously the man's got money, so yeah, he is funding it partially, and like he is putting the money behind it, which is fantastic, because as we know, Reform, like with Nigel, has been flip-flopping so much over the past few months since they tried to come out and say like it was a big part of Reform's like manifesto and things was to launch a grooming gang inquiry, and now he's basically come out and said, oh, we can't do that without like the statutory rights or something like that, because, you know, they're not in government, so he's claiming that like they don't have enough power to like fully do it, so, you know, there's no point basically, which is so stupid. But that's basically like another conversation for another time, I think. But yeah, so that's all been ironic, but well done to Rupert Lowe. But yeah, as I say, like I've never been a Kemi Badenoch fan, because she's just not been robust at all. She doesn't align with why I still want to be a member of the party. She doesn't align with anything I think the party should be standing for. And again, she's just not robust. She hasn't been the entire time. Now, she's had the odd good moment in PMQs, but like, what's that? Like, compared to the rest of it, you know, like being a good actor and a good performer in the Coens on a Wednesday afternoon, it doesn't really make you a good leader, you know what I mean? Like, it is just a theatrics thing, PMQs above all else. So again, I'm not really praising her because of that, like, at all. I don't really praise anybody if they do well in PMQs, because again, it means nothing at the end of the day anymore, and it hasn't done for a while. So yeah, that doesn't really hold much ground. I don't know why my eyeliner is not wanting to lay down today, but it's not, and it's really annoying. Whoa, did you see that? The tip of my eyeliner just flicked off. That's crazy. Perhaps it dried out. Okay, we've got a flat eyeliner now. This is gonna be fun. But yeah, so, so much better though. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, great. And we're back, folks. Okay, brilliant. But yeah, so I've never been a Kemi Badenoch fan, and I don't think I ever will be, and especially when it came to her response around this nonsense, because she had the audacity to be like, she was on some interview on some mainstream media channel. I couldn't really tell which one it was. Again, this was a clip from Maya Tusi, but I couldn't really tell what channel she was on, but she was on some channel, and she was basically saying like, oh yeah, globalism isn't dead, because globalism has been great for the UK, it's made us richer, it's like blah de blah de blah, yay globalism. And, you know, you have to look at her and be like, girl, what is the point of you anymore? What is the point of you as leader? There never was one. Again, I didn't vote for her. I wanted Rob Jenrick. He should be leader. This shit wouldn't have happened if he was leader. We would have been getting a lot more robust decisions under that. And the thing is, she's very, the way that Maya Tusi put it was like, she's very academic and technical, which I think is very good, but she's also very politician. She's a little bit too much politician speak the entire time. And that's why she's not been robust, because she's not come up with anything decent, like, ever at all. Like, it's all just been the typical stuff, say the right thing, and then circle back to, it's because of this Labour government, which it is. I'm not saying it's not, because it definitely is, right? But it's like, girl, say something more original, please, for the love of God. We need you, just for the sake of just entertainment, for one, maybe, I don't know, but we need you to say something good and robust and like right for once, okay? However, what did she say that was actually okay that I've written down here? Right, the one good point that she did actually make So I will give her like 1 point. No other point, just 1 point. The 1 point she did make was when she was calling out the fact that Keir Starmer was a fake around this whole being supportive of nationalism and in the national interest when it comes to the tariffs and stuff, because that's what she was being questioned on, right? But she did come out and basically say that, hey, if Keir Starmer actually cared about globalism and the national interest, he would sort out the borders. He would do something about, you know, the national security of this country and, you know, that whole crisis, which is something we've talked about endlessly on this channel and will continue to, because it is it's probably the most important topic in the UK right now. Until it gets sorted, it will be, you know. So yeah, so that's that was the only good point that she made throughout the entire interview, was basically like, yeah, if he cared about this country and cared about our interests, then he would absolutely be sorting out the borders and would actually be caring about, you know, what's happening in this country, rather than just trying to fake it and make it look like he likes Trump now and supports Trump because of this thing with the tariffs, which again is complete and utter bullshit. Like, he's literally faking for the sake of PR. And I really hope that this is not going to stir up people actually now kind of supporting him in a way. I don't think it will. I don't really know what I'm on about there, but like, I hope it doesn't make people think that he has like changed his mind when it comes to globalism. Like, I really hope that people still see him for the fraud and the fake that he is, and not look at this and go, oh, well, maybe he's woken up a little bit. Maybe he's starting to be like us. Like, I really hope that there are people out there, like, who, I hope that collectively we can take any of those people who are having those kind of thoughts and slap them across the face and go, don't say that, please. Please just like stay awake, don't just nod off to the home of wishful thinking. I don't fucking know, you know, so something like that, you know what I mean? Like, I really don't want that to be the case, because again, it is quite clear that this is completely and utterly fake and, you know, all for the sake of PR. And, you know, he doesn't actually believe this, because as I say, you know, the one good point that Kemi Badenoch made was like, yeah, if he did actually care, then he would, you know, be showing it. It's like, if he wanted to, he would, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's crazy that this is the take that he's, like, this is the stance that he's taking, because again, I think behind closed doors, he despises the man. I think that behind closed doors, he's constantly chatting shit. I honestly think that he is. And, yeah, I don't believe for 1 second that he actually thinks that this is a good idea. I think, you know, he really thinks, oh no, we've been backed into a corner, we're gonna have to do something quick, let's make it look nice so that, you know, President Trump doesn't punish us anymore, at least in our eyes, you know. Like, I really think that's what's happening. And hence why they've had to come out with some PR bullshit about, oh yeah, this is the end of globalism and we should be acting in national interests, and yeah, it's just complete and utter rubbish if you actually see it for what it is. And I really hope that people do see it for what it is and aren't taken in by it, and that is, you know, that is a big point that I wanted to make. But yeah, I want to know what you think about that, you know, about just globalism, and like whether you agree with what Kemi Badenoch said, which will be an interesting discussion in the comments if you do. Do we think this is the end of globalism? It's not. But do we think that, you know, is like, if we're gonna see a decrease in it because of what Trump's trying to do, or whether we're gonna see like just more resentment? I don't know. Like, it's interesting, because obviously, again, the whole point of these tariffs was like, yeah, if you want them to come down, then bring yours down. And a few countries have, like, it's not just the UK, I think Taiwan's done the same, and there are a few others that have done similar as a result as well, which I think is great, obviously. So yeah, well done Trump, well done America, you know, this is all great. This is all great for them. But yeah, the fact that that was Keir Starmer's response is absolutely hilarious in my opinion. So yeah, it's just another day in the absolute whirlwind that is British politics at the moment, isn't it really? Did I just mess that up? I feel like I just messed that up. Okay, we're gonna do something different with the shimmer, because I've just absolutely destroyed when I was trying to do that. I don't know what I'm trying to do here. Okay, because I didn't want to use blue, because I did that in the last episode, so I was going to try and do something different, but I've started. I'm going to commit to the whole lid being this gunmetal colour, and we're going to see if that makes anything look any different? Okay. Okay, that's not too bad. I wanted to go kind of blue goth with this look today, so I don't know what is happening, but we're just gonna go with it. We're just gonna go with it. I'm probably gonna add a little bit of blue on that actually, because it needs blue adding back to it. So yeah, the next topic of discussion is going to be asylum seekers. Again, this is something that we are going to continue to talk about on this channel because it is incredibly important that we maintain this discourse, because it is crazy, and the stuff that keeps coming out seems to just get crazier and crazier with every headline and every story that comes out. Now, this is funny because I had heard of similar things happening recently, but then I got like a specific article sent to me where it outlined like a specific incident of this happening. Yeah, that looks a bit better, doesn't it? We're gonna change that. Anyway. But yeah, let's talk about asylum seekers going back home for the holidays and seeing their family. Let's talk about that, shall we? So we already know that a lot of these asylum seekers aren't actually asylum seekers and are just here to basically fake the system and get a bunch of free stuff and just live on benefits and just be overall just not very beneficial to the country. And as much as we knew that was happening, this is a whole new crazy situation, because yeah, we've discovered that a few of them are then, you know, out of nowhere, seemingly going home to the countries where they've come from to, you know, for holidays or to see family. And, you know, the money that they're getting to do this is coming out of, like, seemingly nowhere, because they're all on benefits and stuff, so it's like, where are you getting this money from? And, you know, they're assuring people that it, you know, they're finding it and it's fine, but obviously it's not fine, and then, you know, we have to be asking these questions. So obviously, you know, the questions are being asked for obvious reasons, and they're very reasonable questions that are being asked, like, you know, hang on a minute, mate, I thought you were leaving this country because it wasn't safe, and now you're going back because you miss your family? Like, where's the logic in that? Where is the logic in that? So yeah, it's all very strange. And as I say, I'd heard of a couple of cases of this happening, but then I got sent a specific article where it listed a housing officer that was obviously in charge of people on housing benefit and like going around and checking on them and knocking on the doors and stuff. And he was going around to these Iranian asylum seekers, allegedly. You know, I say the asylum seeker part is alleged. They were from Iran. But you know, the asylum seeker part was definitely alleged. And yeah, he was going there, and one didn't answer the door. Now, he knew of one that had like weirdly gone home to see family for a couple of months, like gone back to Iran to see family. And apparently this other one had also done the same, like had been informed this housing officer that that's what they were doing as well. I guess because, you know, they talk to each other and they're like, yeah, we can't just like go home and visit, you know that, right? Like, here's some dodgy money, like off you go, basically. And yeah, it's all very, very bizarre, because again, yeah, these guys are on housing benefit, you know, they're not they're not really working, they come to this country and yeah, they are just basically sponging off the state. So the fact that they're then able out of nowhere to just be like, yeah, flights to Iran please, let's go, is obviously very weird. And you know, we should be asking these questions and being like, how in the bloody world is this happening? I mean, we obviously know how it's happening, through dodgy means, and they're not genuine asylum seekers or anything, so, you know, it should be obvious, but it's not, obviously. And yes, that was crazy. Apparently, Lee Anderson, who as we know is the Reform UK chief whip, responded to this and basically said, like, you know, obviously they should be deported. Again, I don't really trust a lot of what any of them say anymore, you know, anyone from Reform UK, even though, as you guys know, in the past I was a fan of Lee Anderson, especially when he was still a Tory, because, you know, he was coming across as quite robust and he seemed to be somebody who might have brought the Tory party back from, you know, being unpopular, and you know, he was a good voice for those who wanted to see change within the party, and it was a really good, you know, he was a good figure to have. But then obviously he was suspended and then like coerced to go to Reform, basically. Not coerced, but kind of coerced to go over to Reform because he made friends with Richard Tice and everything. And yeah, but I don't, after everything that's been coming out with all the flip-flopping and everything from Reform UK, I really don't trust anything that's coming out of their mouth anymore, especially when it comes to the migrant crisis. So yeah, he can spout all he wants about things needed, you know, them needing to go and be deported, but until the whole party are like, that's said publicly as like they're back on that train again, and even then I don't think I'd even trust them, you know. But until that happens, I don't trust anything that comes out of their mouths, including Lee Anderson. But I want to know your guys' reaction to that one in the comments, because that is insane. And yeah, it's again, it just seems like one thing after another with the migrant crisis, you know. Just as we thought it couldn't get any crazier, like it does, and it's just insane. My camera cut out, so just to just to continue what I was saying, you know, I want to know what you guys think about everything to do with that situation and the migrants and everything and that whole situation, just in the comments, you know, restart that debate as well. We love to see it, because again, it's a really important topic. But yeah, when it comes to as well Trump and the tariffs, you know, this is where I was on before my camera cut out. I want to know what you guys think about this new era and what this is going to mean just for the world in general, because obviously at the moment the tariffs are an incredible move for America, as we've said, you know, on this episode. You know, it's an incredible move for getting a better deal for America, and fundamentally that's what this is all about. However, what does this mean for the next 4 years? Obviously the country that's being hit the most as well is China. I said we were going to touch back on this, you know, and we do rely an awful lot on China because, again, as I mentioned, you know, the manufacturing industries that were in the UK and America and things just haven't, like, obviously America does way more than we do in terms of their manufacturing and things like that. They have a lot more than we do, but still, you know, the UK has lost an awful lot of that, and therefore we rely a lot on imports and foreign countries, and the same with America, you know, hence why the tariffs thing has come in. And yeah, one of those countries we rely on the most is China, and you know, this is sort of a topic for my main channel really, but especially when it comes to things like Temu and Shein, which, as you know me personally, and you on my main channel, but I do talk a lot about like fashion and things over there, and I made a video recently about kind of fast fashion versus shopping secondhand and vintage, and how that's impacted society and how it's made everybody a lot more bland and a lot more boring is definitely the word, but like more robotic and more sort of clone-like. Like we've all just become clones of each other because we've lost a lot of our individuality and our creativity, and a lot of that I feel like has come from globalism and relying an awful lot on imported clothing and a lot of, like, again, like the fast fashion industry and things like that. But obviously that depends, you know, obviously that kind of mindset applies to an awful lot more industries and just a lot more products in general, and obviously this is a massive problem. So hence why China is one of the countries being hit the most by the tariffs, and rightly so, because again, we rely on them an awful lot and too much for stuff. And another reason why I think that Starmer has reacted in the way that he has as well is because of the next 4 years. You know, he's seeing what's happening, he's seeing Trump being robust, he's seeing, you know, him not wanting to back down when it comes to America and acting in America's interests, and wanting to basically not get ripped off by these countries who he probably knows aren't his massive fans, like personally, at least like some of them, like the UK for instance, at least with Keir Starmer's involved. So, you know, he's probably seeing that and going, okay, this is my time to be a bit selfish because hate is gonna hate. And yeah, he's just being incredibly robust with this whole thing, and you know, we've seen that. But again, I think that's another reason why Starmer has reacted in the way that he has, is because he sees the next 4 years of like, okay, well, we're not going to get anywhere by fighting this guy. We're actually going to end up in a worse place if we end up trying to fight him with what he's trying to do. So we're just going to play along with the game. Maybe behind closed doors we don't really like him, but to the public we're going to basically say, yes, this is good, we're going to cooperate, like we're going to keep on their good side because that is the smart thing to do, which fair enough is the smart thing to do. You don't want to be getting on Donald Trump's bad side, so in a way I do see where they're coming from and I don't hate that entirely. It is slightly irritating because obviously he's showing himself up to be an absolutely massive fake with the way that he's worded and everything. Like, again, if you know, you know with that, don't be, you know, blind to what's going on. But at the same time, it is going to be quite, but at the same time it is quite interesting to see him act this way because it is quite obvious that he is just wanting to keep everything quite smooth, and obviously this new era of Trump is going to be very big for America and also very big for the world now, obviously. So yeah, it is just very, very important that these countries keep on his good side, otherwise they are going to suffer the consequences, because if they're not acting in America's interests, then America will not act in theirs, you know? So that is basically the mentality, which is absolutely fair enough. Can't really talk while I'm doing my waterline liner, I won't lie. Personally, I don't think that the resentment from Trump, kind of the underlying resentment, is going to go away anytime soon, because of course it's not. It's Trump, isn't it? You know, we all know that people deep down don't really like him that much, so it is a case of, yeah, just kind of moving along with the punches. And I think we are going to be seeing a lot more kind of more PR stunty type speeches like this with any other moves that Trump makes in that affects, you know, at least the UK and any other country that doesn't really like him, but especially the UK, because again, Keir Starmer is a wet lettuce that has just wanted to try and sort of keep the peace as much as he possibly can, and he's gonna lie and say that he's, you know, acting in the public interest and he cares so much about the UK, which again we all know is complete and utter rubbish. So yeah, it's just gonna be a case of watch this space. But I mean, I'm glad that they backed down in terms of the tariffs and everything, although as we know, we can't really afford to be fighting back against anything like that, you know, in case, you know, he was gonna like increase it if they weren't going to cooperate. So in a way I think they've made the best decision there, and just going, okay, Trump, you have your way, because we're making terrible financial decisions and we're a little bit of a sore state. So in terms of that, then yeah, absolutely this was a good move to make. Just again, trying to keep the peace and not upset President Trump is the best way forward, especially with, you know, things like, however, obviously, when it comes to conflicts and things with, especially like with the war in Ukraine, Keir Starmer's been doing the absolute opposite of what Trump would like him to do, and we talked about this when, like, the row kicked off and everything, but he's continued to do this, and it's interesting what people have been coming out about with Zelensky, by the way, like, since that episode, like, the conversations I've been having, because a lot of people think that, like, Zelensky's a grifter, and they just don't really like Zelensky, which was interesting because I thought that people did like Zelensky, and like people were for Ukraine and things, and I thought that, you know, it was just Russia that was the enemy, but no, apparently people just don't always like Ukraine, which again has been very interesting to see. So that's been an interesting. How many times can I say the word interesting in like a series of sentences? Jesus Christ. But yeah, it's been interesting to see people's views on that. So yeah, if you have any specific views about like that relationship going on, and whether you have any predictions about the war and like how that's gonna go, because obviously we're far from reaching any kind of peace with that, like obviously the war is still going on, and yeah, it would just be interesting to see people's views a few weeks after that row, obviously that famous row that happened in the Oval Office, and you know, just anything like that, and then Zelensky's relationship with Starmer and how that's changed and evolved, and you know, how he's become like best friends with Keir Starmer, and like how that's all developed, and whether that's going to develop further, and how that's going to affect, you know, the relationship with America, if that's going to change in any way, that even more than it already has. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments down there, because really I have no thoughts about that at the moment. I am literally just like, watch this space, we'll have to see what happens. And that is still my mentality. It's just, yeah, watch this space, see what happens, see if anything changes, and yeah, we're just gonna have to move with the direction of the wind there. It's, yeah, again, it's just a case of watch this space. But I think the trade tariffs and everything will be a topic of conversation for a little bit longer, probably not too much longer, but it has definitely ruffled some feathers, and I think it was the best decision as well, again, when it comes to the EU, you know, as he said, and as I said in the short that I made, when he said that we got to the EU, it was like, the EU, they rip us off, it's very sad, it's very sad, it's pathetic. It was so funny. I was like, yeah, he was honestly, he was like an excited teacher showing the class a presentation with that little board thing. He was like, we were gonna get a bigger chart, but we weren't able to, so we got this this little one, you know. And honestly, he has so much fun up there, doesn't he? Like, you can tell he's really enjoying being back in office and like really enjoying doing this to other countries, which again is good because he knows what he's doing. He knows it's gonna be the best decision for America, and in my opinion, he should move straight forward. I am going to finish my makeup and then we'll come back with my concluding thoughts, and I'm going to decide on a lip because I don't know whether to go with my blue lipstick, which I've not worn in ages, or this one. It's like this one or this one. I'm going towards this one at the moment. It's looking a lot more complimentary, but this one maybe. I don't know. We will come back and decide. So, no surprise, I went with the blue. Yeah, I've not worn this in ages, so I was like, we'll go with the blue. We are committing to the blue. Yeah, Blue Velvet by Jeffree Star. Brilliant. Anyway. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, if you want to leave any of your thoughts, please do. Please continue the discussion in the comments about anything that I talked about today. We're living in a crazy world, and you know, we've just got to kind of laugh at it sometimes, just to keep saying, you know, we're gonna make the jokes. We're gonna keep the banter going to keep us sane and not go insane. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out so much. Congratulations, by the way, to me. I guess we hit 500 subscribers. Woo! I do need my watch hours to be a little bit more up, and obviously we're aiming for 1,000. That's the next goal. We are now aiming for 1,000. So yeah, any likes and comments that you can leave on this video help me out so much, including the hate comments. They still count as engagement, so thank you. But if you, yeah, just leave any thoughts, comments in the description. As they make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more future episodes or breaking news little shorts that I do. And yeah, this is the makeup that I came up with, very blue, because I'm still wearing my Wombats t-shirt like I was in the last episode. I'm wearing this again. So yeah, I thought I'd go with another cool blue look. But yeah, I hope you guys are all doing well. Again, leave any discussion, leave any thoughts and discussions in the comments, and I will see you guys next week for another podcast episode, or, you know, whichever day that I decide to do the breaking news shorts. So yeah, hope you're doing well. See you next time. Bye bye.